We welcome you to episode 15 of Battin and Chattin here on the Eastern Observer alongside Niklaus Feil and Denis Tuohy. I'm Brandon Natale. Now, before we get started, please hit that subscribe button on YouTube to be kept on the loop on everything Eastern Observer and, most importantly, Battin and Chattin. Our show can be found on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and wherever else podcasts can be found. Show is presented to you by Black Cats New York NYC. Be sure to download their newest hit single, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us, which can be found wherever music is found, which is Spotify, iHeartRadio, SiriusXM, Satellite Radio, and many others. Fellas, how are we doing today?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Just had my breakfast. Was able to get the day off today. Just hanging, ready to talk baseball with the boys. That's it, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm just kind of hanging out, man. Ate a little Cap'n Crunch before coming on here. Ready. I'm locked in, man. I'm locked in. So a lot of baseball to talk about. Postseason push, the race
Yeah.
for October. Can't wait, man.
All right. Yeah. Now this is the hunt for October, the race for October, or whatever they call it. Oh yeah, and so I mean, the Mets and the Yankees. I don't think they're going to be hunting for October. Unfortunately, they're going to be hunting for the future.
Yes.
I mean, well, Yankees still got a lot of good pieces. I mean, Jason Dominguez. I mean, he was playing lights out. He was playing like a superstar. I remember kind of gave me that Mike Trout kind of feel when he came back into the when Mike Trout first came into the league. Unfortunately, Dominguez he's out for the rest of the season as he recently just was diagnosed with the UCL tear. So I feel like that's a little bit of I mean, New York sports in general has been taking a hit. I mean, definitely has not been easy for Jeff fans, aka myself and Nick. Giants, man, did they even show up? I feel like might as well, as Dennis would say, might as well just throw out the Bobcats, plain edge Bobcats out there. Yeah, I give credit to Dennis for that.
Listen, this is a baseball show. I'm not going to dwell on it. As a Giants fan, the best part of that game was turning it off. I didn't even watch the second half. I put on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I don't blame you. No, I don't blame you.
That's dope.
Secret of the Ooze, classic.
Nice.
Yeah.
Unlike that game. That game was not a classic. That was not good.
Yeah, no. It has been pretty rough couple of weeks for me, especially losing my boys, Aaron Rodgers and Jason Dominguez.
Yeah.
Crushes my soul, dude. Dominguez been high on this kid. Me, Dennis, Brandon, you, we've been talking about this kid all season long, how the Yankees just call up the kids. Comes in immediately on a tear. First career hit, home run off a Hall of Famer, Justin Verlander. Hit 4 home runs, 1 player of the week, 20 years old, just getting started. Gets that UCL tear. It just, I know it was already a lost season, but man, the season was just getting fun again with him and all the other kids called up, him and Volpe in the same lineup. And now we're probably going to be missing this kid for the beginning of the 2024 season as well. Brutal. But he's going to come back. He's young. Hopefully he's a quick healer. We've seen it with Bryce Harper. He came back. He's on a tear this year. Harper's doing Harper things.
Yeah.
So hopefully you get Jason back.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you had mentioned Bryce Harper just had this similar injury. He had to get Tommy John surgery this past offseason. The good thing is Jason Dominguez basically a month earlier got hurt. So like you would think that he could come back sooner than Harper did. I covered the Phillies for the Eastern Observer. So Harper came back like early June, very late May, around that time frame.
Yeah, I think it was May.
So hopefully Dominguez could come back around that time or sooner. Harper did come back as a first baseman. The Yankees have either LeMahieu or Rizzo there. So we'll see what happens, but hopefully they can get creative and get him back out on the field. And hopefully he's healed. Because I don't want to see them rush him back and then it's
How long do you guys think he'll be out for?
He's probably going to be out. I'm guessing the same timeline as Harper. I think we're going to see Jason in May. I think May is the month where we'll see Jason back. And my thing is, I think, if he is healed up, we do get him back. I think Stanton's going to have to play a lot more right field. Maybe get Jason in at DH the first few weeks, month, or whatever. Whatever he's got to do to get back up to speed with his throwing arm. So, yeah, Stanton's going to have to take, a little bit of a higher role there, play some more right field.
Okay.
And Stanton usually hits pretty better when he's playing the outfield. So I think it's kind of a win-win right there.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't just throw him out there.
Yeah.
They'll have the freaking
well.
Pepsi vendor play left field, but they won't give Stanton a shot when his numbers are better.
Exactly.
I guess if I'm going to be, if they're going to throw him out there, then I guess maybe I'll have a better opportunity to catch a foul ball or a practice ball now. For he's out there. Obviously, you guys remember the story with Stanton, how Stanton threw the ball to me, and I kind of whiffed and I was laid flat on the bleacher section. Met fan visiting the bleacher section. It's not fun. Actually, no. It is a good time. It's always good going to baseball games, But I mean, does Stanton play better? Like, is he more not athletic, but like, does he put in more effort? Not, you know what I mean? Because
I don't know. I think it's a focus thing. Because
it's a focus
I don't have the numbers in front of me, honestly, but it's not like he's slightly better. It's like you have Marlins, Stanton, and then you have Yankees regular season Stanton.
Yeah. It
is a very noticeable difference between the two.
Yeah, his slash line, so his average, OBP, slugging, whatever. I think it's all better across the board when he's playing the outfield. Because dude, look, I'm not a Major League Baseball player, but I've played games where I've DH'd and played center, left field, or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
And you're in more of a groove when you're playing the outfield. It's like, all right, I'm focused. I'm in the game. I got to catch a ball if it comes to me. Then you're off the bat. It's like, you always made a great catch. You're hyped up. Get to the plate. You're knocking a single or whatever, double, whatever you got to do. So it's definitely a momentum thing, I think, for sure.
I also think that it could help limit the injuries with him.
Yeah.
Because he's not going inconsistent amount of effort. It's
exactly.
I guess if you're
the body staying fresh.
Yeah, if you're going for a run or something like that, and you're doing a constant jog for 10 minutes and then maybe a sprint for 2, that's different than just sprinting for 2 minutes and then sprinting for 2 minutes. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like your muscles and everything are just they're locked in pretty much. It's not like you're not resting for too long. Yeah.
Right. As we take a look at the notes, obviously Stanton, he did hit his 400 career homer. It was his 133rd as a Yankee, and he became the 4th fastest player to do that, to hit 400 home runs with only 1,520 games needed to accomplish that feat. That only trailed A-Rod, Babe Ruth, Mark McGwire in that order.
Yep.
I know you guys been into it earlier. I know Dennis alluded to it because this was his credit to Dennis and Nick. Does Giancarlo make the case for being a Hall of Famer, even if he were to get the 500 home runs? Like, what does he need to do to accomplish that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's a question. I can't believe that that's kind of a minority opinion.
I was about to say the same thing.
What I saw online or MLB Network and other stuff like that, it's like, dude, here's the thing. All right. I hate to be the bringer of bad news. I hate to tell people that Santa Claus isn't real, nor is the Tooth Fairy. But when we compare guys to other generations and whatnot, I think we need to factor in not just the steroids of the 80s and 90s, but you guys are smart baseball fans, so you probably know this. Guys were taking amphetamines since the 60s.
Yep.
Yeah.
So 400, if we want to kill Stanton or Judge or Trout for playing, these guys have injuries and whatnot, it's you pop them full of drugs and we'll see how hurt Mike Trout is. Go ahead.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if he gets to 450, I don't think so. But if he gets to 500, if somebody said Giancarlo Stanton isn't a hater, isn't a Hall of Famer, they're just a hater. Honestly, 5-time All-Star, sure, a Hall of Famer arguably should have more. 2-time Silver Slugger, sure, maybe a Hall of Famer should have more. 1 MVP. If we want to punish steroid users like Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, his 59 home runs in 2017 is the most in National League history.
Yep.
If you want to exclude the steroid guys. And if they're not in the Hall of Fame, that's kind of what you're telling me. So I don't know. another top 2 MVP vote finish in 2014, finishing to Clayton Kershaw, who had an insane season that year. That year, Stanton hit 37 home runs, 299 total bases, led the league. League best OPS 555. I mean, an OPS plus of 164, and batted 288. Like when he was on with the Marlins, he was so freaking good.
Yeah.
And with the Yankees, yeah, he had a lot of injuries. But I don't. If he gets to 500, I don't see that as a reason to keep him out. If he gets to 500, he gets to 500, and that's also with the fact that there's the 60-game season.
Yeah,
can't really hold it against him. So,
yeah, Dennis, I agree 110%. Look, at the end of the day, 500 home runs is 500 home runs. That used to be the epitome of, all right, you're a Hall of Famer. Like that was back in the day. If you had 500 home runs, you were a lock. You were a lock for the Hall of Fame. Stanton is a staple of 2010s baseball. You can't write 2010s baseball without Giancarlo Stanton. That 2017 season was just unreal. It's like every other day or every game, pretty much, this guy was hitting a home run, 59 bombs that year. He's a home run derby champ, all-star MVP, regular season MVP. He's got the all-star games. He's got the silver sluggers. Look, the Yankees are the Yankees. We'll see what happens in the next couple of years. They usually never back down. They're usually not horrible for too long. Let's say he gets a ring, gets a World Series MVP. Say that happens. He adds that to the resume. Add the 500 bombs. He's a lock all day. All day. So I saw comments on Facebook and stuff. People are like, oh, if Stan might be the first legitimate 500 home run guy to not make the Hall of Fame. I'm like, dude, come on, man. If he gets 500, he's making it to the Hall of Fame. Sure.
I just went through the 500 club. There's 27 players to have hit 500 or more home runs. All of them are in the Hall of Fame, those that have been eligible, except 7. All 7 of them have PED suspensions or suspensions that Stanton doesn't have. Gary Sheffield, McGuire and Sosa, A-Rod, Barry Bonds, Rafael Palmeiro, and Manny Ramirez.
Wow.
All of them have been either suspended for steroids or suspected of steroids. I might be one of the only people that thinks Sheffield was clean, but
I agree with Sheffield 100%.
Sheffield should be in the Hall. There's literally no evidence to prove he did steroids. It's just, he worked out with Barry Bonds. That's the evidence. I'm serious.
Right.
So it's, you know what I mean? Like, I think he should be in regardless, but if you want to label him in that category of suspected of taking steroids, that's never come up with Stanton ever. So I can't believe that. Once again, if you don't think he's a Hall of Famer, sure. I can't believe that that's a minority opinion to say he would be.
Yeah.
That was shocking to me. It's 500 homers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see what Stanton. I mean, I love Stanton. I mean, and honestly, I've been following him around for a lot of his baseball life. I mean,
just to put a bow on this topic, if you want to talk about the injuries with him, that should make him even more of a Hall of Famer because he's made the most out of his eligible games.
Man. If he wasn't injured, he'd probably be at 500 plus right now.
Exactly, because what's the knock on guys like Craig Biggio, which is very good for so long that they get 3,000 hits or other benchmarks. It's an interesting philosophical debate in how we should rank players and generations and whatnot, but I think Stanton not being in the Hall of Fame to me is like sacrilegious.
Yeah.
He definitely has a great shot. I mean, like I said, I mean, I followed Stan a lot, for most of my my baseball life. I saw him win the home run derby. I saw him play when he was on the Marlins. I've seen him a lot when he was on the, as he's on the Yankees, like monster, like batter at the plate. Obviously, he nukes home runs like it's no tomorrow. Like he's insane. Obviously, he's a 5-time All-Star, 2-time Slugger, All-Star MVP, and obviously the Derby champ. And an MVP. Obviously, in 2017 when he went on a tear with the Marlins, his last year there in 2017, as he hit 59 home runs. So, if you can get the 500, no PDs, so he's got a shot. Now, do you think he'd go in as a Marlin or a Yankee? I don't know if we discussed this already.
He should go in as a Marlin.
Yeah, as it stands right now, he should be a Marlin. He won his MVP there. He had that monster MVP season there, 59 home runs. Pretty much all his MVP worthy seasons have been in Miami. 267 career home runs as a Marlin compared to his Yankee story isn't fully written yet. So,
It
but
should be 134 now as a Yankee, right? Am I
yeah,
right about that?
134 as a Yankee. So I mean, we'll see how it ends with him as a Yankee. He's got a few years left. If there's a few rings involved or whatever, maybe like a monster season. It's
He only
debatable,
has
but
he only has one triple with the Yankee in his entire Yankee career. I'm
yeah,
looking at the
That
stats.
doesn't surprise me.
Not that
yeah.
triples matter. I mean, I don't know. It's a
With
long
only
time to not have triple.
with only 11 triples in his career, I'm not
Right.
surprised by that. But
Anyway, triples are hard to come
right
by.
as we sit and talk here right now, it's the Marlins all day for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I hope Stan can definitely overcome when he's overcoming. I mean, obviously, with the injuries and all that, it's good to see that he's still out there. Hopefully, they put him out in the outfield when they get Dominguez and more of the lineup back in. So yeah. So I mean, obviously, with all the new names coming up with the Yankees, like Dominguez and Austin Wells, like, what should the new look Yankees be called? I know you guys got some examples for us.
I'm curious to see what Nick says on this.
What's a good name for the current? I feel like Baby Bombers is so
You've done it
overused.
100
That
times.
was the 2017 era. Damn.
Baby Bombers.
Little stumped here on this one, but I would probably go with like something with kids in it. Like everyone keeps referencing them as the kids. The kids are coming up, so like the new kids on the block or something like that. But
Yeah.
but
That's the one I saw was New Kids on the Bronx or
yeah, New Kids on the Bronx.
I
Yeah,
like that.
that's like a New Kids on the Bronx. Wells, Pereira, Dominguez, Volpe. I consider part of this whole new youth movement. So yeah, maybe Spencer Jones too in a year or so.
Spencer Jones. All right.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah, Spencer Jones.
I just if they need to stop trying to make Yankees Utes a thing. I don't know how you feel about that. I was watching Michael Kay when in that Houston series try so hard to make it a thing. I like Michael Kay.
Yeah.
I like Michael Kay. I think he's a good broadcaster. I like his show on ESPN. Like I like Michael Kay. But good God, stop trying to make Yankees Utes a thing. I was cringing. Me and my buddy, we were watching the game and we were in the Outer Banks. We were cringing anytime they said the Yankees Utes. It's like, ha ha ha, my cousin Vinny, we get it.
No.
We get it. We get it, guys. Stop. Please. For the love of God,
Two
stop.
Utes. To what?
Oh my God. It's like,
To
please, like
use.
this is a tough watch. It's a tough listen.
Yeah, I hear you.
The Utes jokes in general, like it's not just like that. It's like just in general. It's like, you know what? Can we tone it down a little? It's not that funny. It's really not.
I think
it's not even like a top
hilarious.
10 funniest joke in that movie.
I mean, it's up there.
Just saying. All right, that kind of derailed.
But yeah, I definitely Baby Bombers is definitely way 2017. It's way senior year ago, Dennis. I mean,
yeah, and then the core
Dennis was
four
seniors.
they've already done, and like there's other stuff they've probably had. It's like they need to get creative, but
New Kids on the Bronx is great. I like that.
I like that.
The kids,
I saw that
kids
one.
in the Bronx.
Yeah,
we'll see. I gotta ask my buddy Joe Wallner. I gotta see what he thinks because he's, him, Dennis. He's
big
a
Yankees fan. Yeah.
Yankee fanatic. That's why I like to call him. Like how I am with the Jets, he is with the Yankees. Like if I could go to every Jet game, I would. I know it's just that going to Jersey, it's a lot. Like I wish they, I started. They should. You know what I mean? Like it's a trip. Like they should have a stadium out in Long Island or maybe Westchester. Why they don't, I couldn't tell you. But either way, so like how he is with the Yankees, I am with the. He'll be at every game. I like to see what he would think. I gotta text him. I gotta tell him new kids in the Bronx. I gotta see what he says. He'll either, I like to see the response I get.
Getting to MetLife is like literally an all-day affair.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, literally. not even the game is an all-day affair. It's getting home and getting that's the all-day affair.
It's getting out of the parking lot.
Yeah, that's why you can't stay there till like the end of an event, except maybe with Jet games. I kind of there to the end unless they're getting blown out. But yeah, it is a hassle. But in other news though, let's flip over to Queens. Ronnie Mauricio, man, what a night! He's got. I mean, in his first 15 at bats, like in only his first 15 at bats, he was hitting 400. and he had 2 stolen bases, and he man was having a day. I mean, it's insane. Last night he just hit his first career home run against the Diamondbacks, and nice bat flip, and just the energy that he's bringing. I hope that they can find a way to bring him into the lineup because, man, has he been impressing? Like I haven't seen, maybe since Alonso, I haven't seen a rookie play like this where he's an impact player right away. Like it takes time and for players to assess and get adjusted to the majors. And I like Ronnie Mauricio. I hope next year they could find a way for him to be in the opening day lineup.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this kid was awesome in the minor leagues for them. He's a 2020 guy. Usually bats around like 280, 290. It's like his average is. Like, he's a stud, man. I mean, the Mets seem to be calling the kids. They have a lot of good young assets coming up. Alvarez, Pete Alonso 4 years ago in 2019, Beatty. So homegrown's the way to go, man. We've been saying it. We've been seeing it with the Orioles and the Braves. The Yankees are starting out to take that route. So, yeah, Ronnie Mauricio, man, this kid's good. He's batting 306 in his first 10 games in the big leagues. It's a solid outlook, man. He's going to be good.
What position are they having him play mostly?
I know he's played short second base.
Oh, okay. I think that's probably what they should do with an infield of Beatty, Lindor, Mauricio at second, Alonso at first. Maybe move on from Marte. You throw McNeil in right.
Yeah.
I don't know. He could have him left.
McNeil in right field. He's listed as a second baseman.
Is he? I know because when he was in the minors, he was playing a lot of short, and then Lindor there. So it's curious to see where he went.
Yeah, he's been playing second. Yeah, it says on reference.
I think it's good to see the utility that the Mets have because, like, if they want to put McNeil in the outfield, they can put him in the outfield. If they want him to put him at second base, maybe third baseman because of injuries, they could put him there. Or the Mets. That's why they keep McNeil in the lineup as much as they can because they know that he has the bat to help them in games. I mean, even though this year wasn't the best for McNeil, and it wasn't a lot for a lot of players, especially for the Mets. Now they're picking up the slack, but that's just how it was. And this year. So I mean, like I said, I just hope that they can find a way. I know you guys say McNeil might be the odd man out, but I mean, we'll see. See what they can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Mauricio. I think he's put on a good impression on the Mets. Just like I said, just new energy. The baby Mets. How you got Alvarez, Beatty. You got now Mauricio, Vientos. Even though Vientos is kind of like picked up a little bit.
Yeah. Good for you guys, man.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff brewing in Queens, and a lot of good stuff brewing in the Bronx too. I think both teams realize that used the answer, like I just said. So hopefully we see some nice homegrown talents play in New York for a while. That's what we need.
Yeah, I'm excited
to see how the Mets are going to fix their pitching issues because that's really what their problem was this year in the bullpen and even in the rotation. So I don't know if they have too many guys that can call up, right? I don't think so.
I think the farm system is a little dry for pitching.
Right? That's what I thought.
The farm system has
Senga, they got Senga going. He's having an awesome year now. 307 ERA, 181 K.
He could get Cy Young votes. I don't think he's going to win it. It's a very loaded race.
It's very loaded, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to finish like Cy Young 4 or something. Probably 4th place for Cy Young.
He should. I know we've mentioned it. We've talked about it in the past, how great he's been pitching. Like, is it, does he make the case for the Cy Young? He's I think each start he keeps pitching, he definitely keeps adding to his case.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's just tough with that three-headed beast, Steele, Snell, and Strider. Yeah, so I mean,
I think it should be Steele.
I agree. It should be Justin Steele. I was on the. I still am. I love Snell. He's having a great year. I was saying Snell all year. But I think the last 2 weeks or so, I think Steele has taken over as my vote for sure. He's leading the league in wins, ERA. I think he's got it, man.
And he's leading a team into the playoffs.
Nope.
So, into the playoff race. There's a lot of time left, but as of now, like he's kind of
Cubs are in it. And Padres are 8 games out of it. So
Yeah, and Spencer Strider, I
also,
don't. I kind of feel like if Spencer Strider was doing the same thing and not in a Braves uniform, I don't think he'd be looked at the same way in this race.
he's
Personally,
he's on the best team in baseball. He's a flamethrower. He's insane with the
oh, he's very
strikeouts.
good.
But yeah, the ERA and WHIP hold him back a bit for sure.
Just looking at
Steele's like a
Senga.
legitimate ace.
Yeah, Steele's insane. He's got it all, dude. He can throw strikeouts. He's got the location down pat. He limits runs. He's insane.
Right. I feel like Senga could definitely become the Mets ace if they needed him to be.
Oh yeah, if he isn't already.
Yeah, if they had like a more well-rounded bullpen, then like I could see Senga being an ace because then like you kind of have that leeway with the other parts of your rotation.
Mm.
So I mean, there's some good pitching that are free agents: Eduardo Rodriguez, Kenta Maeda,
Aaron Nola,
Aaron Nola,
the Japanese pitcher. Yeah.
Oh yeah, our boy Cashman was talking to him, huh? You saw that?
I heard, yeah. I also heard that. I mean, he pitched a no-hitter. Am I correct?
Yeah, and guess who was sitting right behind home plate? Brian Cashman.
No,
Really?
Yeah.
it's gonna offer him the big bucks.
We'll see. I don't know. I think the Mets have got some. I don't know. Not if Queens has anything to say about that, fellas. You Bronx Bombers.
Was your new president there for the home run for the no hitter?
Not yet, but hopefully he is coming.
Yeah,
that is also some really big news. That is probably one of the biggest news of the week.
Yeah,
talk to
David
me about
Stearns.
it.
What?
Talk to me about it, Brandon. You're the Mets fan.
Yeah, David Stearns, obviously, coming over. He's a great story. For a lot of reasons. What am I gonna say? David Stern, he worked for the Mets when Omar Minaya was the GM, and they wanted he wanted him to stay with the Mets. They wanted to give him a full-time role because he interned for them. He's grew up in New York. He grew up in the city. He has a great story. I got to pull it up because the story was remarkable. Because I remember NYM News posted about it, which I got to try to get him on the show because he's a good guy. He's a Manhattan native. He grew up a Mets fan. So obviously, hold on, before I get more into that, obviously, yes, I will report the news. The Mets are hiring David Stern to take over as the team's president of baseball operations after the season. He's 38. He will now be in full, overlook the entire Mets organization as president of baseball operations. He is the first ever president of baseball operations for the Mets, which is pretty shocking. I never knew that. And so after 2022, he stepped down as Brewers president and moved into the advisory role with the ownership. And, Stearns is under contract with the Brewers as an advisor through the remainder of the 23 season. But after this season, he will be officially inducted as president of baseball operations. So I guess before I dive in more into that, my thoughts on it, I think it's great. I think it's definitely a more new step. I don't think it's more hype. My dad kind of says it like how with the Jets. Don't buy into the hype. Don't get into the hype. Well, I'm not getting into the hype, but this is a good direction. It's good to see that Mets are finally taking a stand and getting someone that isn't, knows baseball, can run the team, and hopefully get them back into relevancy, even if they're not in it. This season they were last season. I think it's great. I think it's a great candidate. Sure, it doesn't need to be Theo Epstein, but David Stearns, I think, is just a great candidate. And now I ask you guys, what do you guys think of David Stearns and his impact that he will have on the Mets?
So, he was president of operations for the Brewers, and it was like those late 2010s Brewers teams. I think they were always pretty solid, man. So I mean, the guy knows what he's doing. He's a young gentleman. He's 38 years old, so he has that new like young mind into the game a little bit there, which is good. He can adapt to today's game of baseball. And like I said, those 2018 Brewers teams, when Yelich was on top of the world and everything like that, I think it's great. I think it's great for the Mets. I think we're just talking about too with the kids being called up now. The Mets are going the right direction. This is a great hire.
I like it for them. I like it for them a lot. First and foremost, as Nick had just said, he was with the Brewers in the 2010s.
Yeah,
and
great.
I mean, look at them now. They've developed great pitching, and as I just said, like it seems like the Mets, a lot of their higher prospects that they're calling up or interested in calling up or on that pipeline, that trajectory, are position players. So if you want to stock the farm with pitching talent, draft pitching talent, acquire pitching talent, he seems like kind of the guy you want partnered with Billy Epler to make that happen. And
Yeah.
not only that, now you have that Steve Cohen financial backing that obviously Milwaukee never really had. So I'm curious to see how he can get creatively with this New York Mets assets and financial situation and whatnot. I think that he has the opportunity to put together a real winner for the New York Mets.
Yeah, it should definitely be interesting. I'm very excited. It's definitely it's going to be interesting to see how they go about the first off season too. I think it's definitely they hired him at a good time. He's coming in at a good time, right after the season. So I think it's good. I think it's crazy to me that the Mets. This is the first ever president of baseball operations for the Mets. Like I never knew they never ran like that. Like
Now,
you know,
I do want to say I'm not exactly sure. I'm looking it up right now. What the difference is between the president of baseball operations? What the difference is between president of baseball ops and the general manager?
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of times people look at it as kind of interchangeable, but I'm not sure if that's accurate. And I just done that, so let me see. Organizations that appoint president of baseball operations, the general manager is considered second in command. Okay.
Interesting.
Not every club employs a president of baseball operations, though some examples include the 2016 Cubs didn't have a president, 16 Dodgers, and 16 Cleveland Guardians.
A lot of 2016 teams there. That's weird.
even the Cub. Wait, then what was Theo Epstein then?
The general manager.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh wow, he was the general manager. Okay.
So interesting.
Yeah, so Theo Epstein definitely knows what he's.
And if there's anything to say for it, the Houston Astros were also involved with possibly getting David Stern. So that's saying something in itself. So I think the Mets definitely landed a good one.
Yeah, like I said, he has a lot of connection. Like David Stern has a lot of, heart and, it definitely has a connection with obviously New York and especially obviously with the Mets, because after graduating from Harvard, he interned with them, and like I said, Manaea wanted to keep him. The Wilpons said no. I guess there wasn't enough room for a full time role. They couldn't add him on, so obviously that did upset Manaea, and Stearns I guess went off elsewhere. So, because he interned for the Mets baseball operations department in 2000, following his graduation from Harvard in 2007. So, Manaea was very impressed, and obviously, from what people think, that turned out to be a huge mistake. Like, not keeping David Stearns on. So, fast forward now, Stearns has his childhood dream becoming, working for the Mets, and he's, So Stern, apparently, while in college, Stern was an avid reader of Mets blog, apparently, which was relatively similar to this account that I'm reading off New York NYM News. So, Stern, David Stern seems to be one of us. So I'm definitely excited. I like to see where it's going to go. Interesting next couple of years for the Mets and for the Yankees. So I mean, I like this David Stern. I like the sign. I like the signing. I like the hiring, and it's definitely interesting.
I'm excited. I'm excited for this new decade of New York baseball.
Oh yeah, it's looking good. Hopefully it's headlined by guys like Pete, Judge, Dominguez, Volpe, Beatty, Alvarez. It's looking like a lot of classic, iconic names right there 10 years from now. So
the future is bright. So
yes,
now,
it is.
you know what, as we brought up our teams now, I think we should talk about the hunt for October.
Let's do it.
I recently I saw an article from Bleacher Report by Kerry Miller, and he brought up a list of the worst September collapses according to him, or in baseball history. So I want to In recent memory, what September collapse comes to mind when you guys think of that?
I feel like the NL Central always has like that one team that's like been in a playoff spot for most of the year. And I feel like this happened for so many years now, like recent memory. And like they just missed the playoffs after being in a spot all year. Weren't the Cubs like with Rizzo and Bryant still, and they missed it by like a game or something? Was it 2018? I'm trying to remember. 2018 Cubs.
Was that Dennis?
I think it might have been 2019. Or wait. No, they lost a wild card game.
With Dennis, can we hear you? Oh, his mic is.
Yeah.
I think he muted himself. There you go.
Yeah, I muted myself. I went to move my my setup here. I don't want to hear dragging in the background. That's funny. Yeah, so I think you're right, Nick. I think it was like 17 or 19, one of those years.
Yeah, one of those Cubs teams from that year. They still had the core together. They were like, I felt like they had a playoff spot the whole season. And then, yeah, so I'm looking, I think it was 2019. Yeah, late September was a rough stretch for them. You know, they had a great team that year. Contreras was doing his thing. Rizzo was doing Rizzo things. Now he was batting almost 300.
Yeah.
25 plus homers. Javi Baez was
Did they
still.
have Darvish yet?
Darvish was on that team. The rotation was Darvish. He had a 3.98 ERA, 229 Ks that year. Kyle Hendricks, John Lester was still on that team. Jose Quintana, and Cole Hamels. Just those names, man. That's a great rotation.
Great rotation. Yeah, that's actually really good rotation. Damn.
That was the horrid year of Craig Kimbrell, though. 6.53 ERA.
Right.
0-4, 13 saves. Yeah, that was a bad bullpen year. I say bad bullpen, but like Steve Cizek and Kyle Ryan were solid that year.
Okay.
And Brandon Kinsler, Tyler Chatwood. Yeah, dude. I think
a lot of names, bro.
I think the bullpen kind of bit them in the ass a little bit, but that was a great team. I remember they were like first or second place all year, and then like I think they lost the wild card, whatever, or they lost the wild card spot, like the Brewers or something, I think.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if that's a collapse, and do you think last year's Mets collapse was? Do you think last year's Mets count as a collapse? They were, they didn't.
They made it to the dance. So I thought we were talking regular season collapses in September, like they have a playoff spot, and I think this is kind of segueing to the Texas Rangers right now. Max Scherzer's hurt. They're having a pretty mid to lackluster September, and they were in first place all year pretty much. Now they're missing out. It's brutal.
Yeah, I got to say, when you first asked this question, the one I immediately jumped to, there's two that jumped to me from 2011 season, the Braves, but the Red Sox.
Yep.
The Red Sox, the chicken in the beer scandal. The Boston Red Sox, they had entered September at 83-52 with the American League's 1 seed, a game and a half ahead of the Yankees, 7 games up on Texas, 8.5 games ahead of Detroit in a 9-game cushion over the closest challenger for a wild card spot, and they would go 7-20, punctured by Jonathan Papelbon blowing the save and the season on the final day. Yeah. And it is also known, that game, for being the last game Tito Francona managed for the Boston Red Sox after winning 2 World Series, breaking the curse in 2004, and then winning another in 2007 against the Colorado Rockies, sweeping them in 4 games. And the chicken and the beer scandal. I remembered it. Like, I remember when they all fell off and it came out that guys were getting like hammered before the game.
Yep.
And like their pitchers that weren't pitching that day were getting crunk and eating fried chicken in the clubhouse and stuff like that. And Tito kind of just let his veterans like, hey, whatever, you guys will figure it out when it's your time to play. And spoiler alert, they didn't figure it out. So he had gotten fired and replaced by John Farrell. Yeah. And also, speaking of Tito, this kind of got buried with a lot of the other news around baseball that I kind of just heard it in passing. He's retiring.
Yeah, final
I can't
season.
believe it. He's finally retiring. He had
Francona?
Legendary manager.
Yeah.
And
Finally.
I thought there was rumors way back then around the same time period we're talking about 2011, 2012. I think he was supposed to retire back then. After
Well,
He
I
has,
like
he
Terry
has health
Francona, though.
issues.
Yeah,
so
he has
that's
health
why he's
issues.
calling it quits now.
I like Terry
crazy.
Francona, though. I think he was a good
Oh,
man.
yeah.
He was definitely a good man. He was a great manager throughout his time in the majors. You know, what I mean, it sucks that it had to end like that the way it brought him. But he's brought the Guardians / Indians to the World Series in 16. Great World Series.
Yeah, even as a Yankee fan, I can definitely respect Francona. That guy is just ever since I was a kid, always one of the best managers in the league. Still,
Yeah.
obviously the season it's going to be his final dance this year. 2016 Indians, Guardians, whatever you want to call them, had a great year with them. Those Cleveland teams of the late 2010s, Corey Kluber, Lindor, J Ram. He's a great manager, man. We're going to see him in Cooperstown for sure.
Made a little run last year too.
Yep, little run last year. Yep.
Yeah, and I think they should get rid of the whole manager has to wait 5 years before they get inducted. That's such baloney, man.
Yeah, it should be the year right after. Because not to be morbid, these guys are 60 years old.
And you have a guy, not to be even more morbid, you have a guy like Tito who's got a lot of health issues. Look at Dusty Baker. Like Dusty Baker's well into his 70s. Like, so what? Let them have the speech and put them in the Hall of Fame. Come on. What are we doing?
Agreed.
What are we doing?
It's kind of cool actually going back to September collapses though. We talked about the 2019 Cubs and now the 2011 Red Sox. A little funny connection here. John Lester was part of both those teams.
And John Lester was one of the guys with that chicken and beer thing.
Was John Lackey one of them too?
Yes. And I think Clay Buchholz too, wasn't he?
Yeah, John Lackey had
like their whole pitching rotation just completely kind of sold out the team, to be honest.
What's crazy about Lester that year, he had 182 strikeouts and a 3.47 ERA, so he was pitching pretty good. That's insane.
Yeah. Looking back at his career, he was obviously, he was a great pitcher. He was on Boston for a while. He wasn't on the 04 team, but he was on the 07 and the 13 team.
Yep.
And then he was on the 16 Cubs. I saw him against the Mets in 2015. I remember he pitched game 1 of that, so it was cool watching him. So I know he's been around for a long time.
Yeah, John Lackey was definitely boozed up that season. This guy was 6.41 ERA. Dude, he was horrible there. Jeez, but yeah, wow.
John Lester.
Yeah,
man.
I forget the exact details of it, but it was a big thing at the time. It was it came out. It's oh yeah, their whole entire pitching staff was hammered. That's why they sucked.
John Lackey definitely gives me huge hammered vibes. So yeah, I can see it.
Lester was great in 18. He was 18-6 for with a 3.32 ERA. He was pretty good.
That was his last really good year.
Yeah, Lester.
Yeah, then he kind of fell off a cliff after that. Really.
Yeah, Lester's had some solid
Get that weird A's year.
Yeah, he got traded to Oakland.
2012?
2014.
2014, he got traded to Oakland.
I don't remember that because I remember him and Adam Dunn both went to the Athletics that year for the playoff push.
Adam Dunn was on the A's?
Yeah, for 2014. I don't know why. That's always embedded into my brain that Adam Dunn got traded to the A's. I don't know why.
You got me. I got to remember that for an immaculate grid.
Exactly. Yeah, Adam Dunn.
I got a complete immaculate. I haven't done the immaculate grid. I used to be obsessed with them. I haven't done them in a long time.
I used to do them every morning with my breakfast. That's usually
it's like waking up. Nothing like waking up at 5 a.m. trying to think who was on the Niners and Jets at the same time, or Jaguars or Texans. How hard that is. It's not easy.
Football's hard for me for some reason. I don't know why. I don't
even try the football ones because I'm an idiot with football history. Yeah. Basketball, my thing is
so many guys switch teams in basketball.
Instead of trying to get names, they try to get the rarity score.
That's what I go for.
I screw up everything.
What is what's the point of the rarity score?
I don't know.
It's just a flex, I feel like, to see how much you know. It's like you get some random guy with a 0.005%. It's like, yeah, I knew that. Why do you know that? You know what I mean? I get those all the time. Like Adam Dunn, for example. There was one Athletics Nationals. I was like, Adam Dunn. He got 1%. I was like, let's go. Most people would say 1%. Someone else, but yeah.
I've gotten some in basketball that are whoa. I'm trying to think at the time. I think I got.
I feel like Jamal Crawford is so underrated in the basketball grids because he played for so many teams. So I'm like, all right, Jamal Crawford. I'll do Knicks, Timberwolves, or whatever. And Jamal Crawford's always at 1%. I'm like, Really? Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah. So Brandon, what do you think? He said Nick said the Cubs. I said the Red Sox. What do you think? What's the biggest collapse?
Well, definitely the Red Sox or the Braves too. Those are two great options. I remember watching. I remember that like it was yesterday. I remember me and Dennis were in sixth grade. Nick, I remember watching ESPN had different games on at the same time, and I remember watching Sports Center the next day. And it's now the Braves. Did the Braves miss the playoffs essentially?
Yes.
Wow, I thought
they
they
did.
made it. That was Chipper Jones's last season too,
I
right?
think they did. 2011 MLB postseason. I'll look it up.
Because I remember watching
thought they
Chipper
might have.
Jones. I remember watching Chipper like that game when his last game, and I remember
I
they were
think
like,
2012 was the last Chipper Jones season.
yeah, maybe you know what?
Because then they throw garbage on the field or something like that.
The Braves missed the 2011 playoffs. It was the Phillies, the Brewers, the Diamondbacks, and the Cardinals. And then for the American League is Yankees, Rangers, Tigers, Rays. The Rays got
Yeah,
them by
so I
one
just
game.
okay, yeah.
Cardinals
No,
got
so
them
I
by
was
one
thinking
game.
I was thinking of the wrong year. So no, yeah, I remember, but I remember seeing the Braves blow it, the Red Sox, the look on David Ortiz's face as he lost to the Orioles, and I remember seeing Tampa Bay won on a walk off.
Yeah, against the Yankees, Evan
yeah.
Longoria right over the Crawford box in right field.
Yeah, I remember that. So it was. I think what comes to mind is definitely the Mets in 2007. I feel like the Mets have collapsed a lot of times. Maybe 08.
That was bad.
They make the argument in 08 they collapsed, but it was bad. And I have the new the stats of that season, like the recaps of it. So I'll go more on it later. But I know that was bad. I remember it was that bad that I remember Jose Reyes, like when they were losing as bad to the Marlins. My Aunt Jenny was at that game too. Rest in peace. I remember she was telling me about that. I know someone else that was there, and my coworker was there too, and he told me that he stopped being a Met fan for like a couple years because of that. And I just remember it was that bad that I remember like Jose Reyes started the brawl on the field. Like there was like a bench clearing fight because and not to say obviously we don't condone violence or that. I'm just saying that's how frustrated they were. Like I remember just seeing a highlight of Jose Reyes going at it with the Marlin players, and obviously I think what sticks to that is Tom Glavine. It sucks because like he had a great baseball career, and that's kind of what he's as a Met. That's what he's known for is blowing, not coming up when they needed him. Like, and not to say that's his fault. Everything is a team collapse. But 7 runs in the first inning alone, not even making it out of the first inning, that's disgraceful.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because, I mean, like, that is... If I was a Met fan, like that'd be kind of one of the years I would look back at as, like, one that got away, right? Like, what is it, 88 or 89, 88, right?
Yeah.
When the Dodgers beat them. And then that year, I thought they were just outmatched in 2015. And 2000, you look at those rosters, it's a miracle they even made it to the World Series, let alone won a game against the Yankees.
Thank you,
Dennis.
Dennis.
And I'm not trying to be a punk. I'm just saying, like,
no, I know what you mean.
But that 07, man, because then the Rockies sweep through the National League. And if you look on paper, like the Mets could have made a run, like if they had gotten into it, but they just couldn't. They fell apart.
Yeah. It just wasn't that good. But would you guys want to hear the list?
Sure. I want to hear the rest of it.
Yeah.
All right. So according to Kerry Miller, he had as the 9th biggest collapse, he has the 2004 Oakland Athletics. They were 81-54 on September 4th. We're 4 games ahead of the Angels for first place in the AL West. And the A's, as a result, went 10-17 the rest of the way, finished 1 game behind the Angels, against whom they lost 2 out of 3 to close out the regular season. So that must suck, like you're ahead of a team, and then to lose the season, you lose to that team. Yeah. Any thoughts on that on that 9th biggest collapse?
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. It's before my time, so I have nothing to add.
Okay.
Yeah. I know they had gotten rid of Miguel Tejada going into that season. Yeah. So maybe that's what it was. Like they just didn't have the pieces for it, but before my time.
All right. So the 8th biggest collapse was the 2005 Cleveland Guardians. Now there were 8 games remaining of the season. Cleveland went 92-63. They're 1.5 games behind Chicago in the AL Central. But they were also 1.5 games ahead of Boston and New York, who were tied for the AL East lead. and Cleveland lost 6 of its final 7 games, allowing both the Red Sox and the Yankees to pass them by.
Thank you, Cleveland.
Yeah, thanks, Cleveland.
Thanks, Cleveland.
Couldn't make the most of it.
But the White Sox won the World Series that year. 05,
yeah,
right?
yeah, that's like a forgotten dominant team. They went end to end.
Yep.
They won the. They had sole possession of the AL Central lead on opening day, and they won not every single game that season, but they never fell out of first place.
Yep.
Right.
So
Well, I guess for
they
the Yankee fans,
destroyed the Astros.
Yeah.
The Astros had 3 aces, Clemens, Pettit, and Oswalt, and they just freaking like humiliated them. Bagwell's last season.
It sucks for Houston.
Yeah, I don't know how upset they are about it now.
Yeah, I think Houston's made out pretty well.
I think they've recovered. I'm
The
sure
White
they would have
Sox-
wanted Biggio, the Killer Bees, Biggio, Bagwell, Berkman to get a ring, but
Yeah, that would have been cool.
yeah, oh well.
I know the White Sox also broke their curse, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
that was a
yeah,
wild.
that's forgotten about too. Is everybody always talks about the Cubs? The Cubs. It would be like
And the Red
if
Sox.
New York. It would be like if the Yankees and Mets both had droughts, and the Mets broke theirs first.
Exactly.
It's kind of how it was looked at, as like nobody cared.
Yeah, no.
Nobody cared. Like it's like that's why I said it's like the forgotten championship team.
Yeah.
Like,
No one really talks about the 05 White Sox. No one talks about Canary.
Yeah, that's what- yeah,
No one
no
talks
one-
about
that
Jermaine
team.
Dye. Like no one talks about those guys.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Jermaine Dye,
Yeah.
Paul Konerko.
Joe Creedy.
He was hurt, but Frank
Thomas,
Thomas was still
yeah.
like on their payroll.
Scott
AJ
Pasonic.
Pierzynski, Scott Pasenik, and then our boy El Duque,
Yeah, El Duque. Yep. Got another ring
Yeah.
that year.
young
Right,
Mark
right.
Burley. They had
Yeah.
a loaded
That was a
roster.
fun team.
They sound loaded, yeah.
Yeah, and then they
So-
just could not. That was it. Like the rest of the 2000s, the AL Central. As much as I want, like I dump on the Central regions, the AL Central in the 2000s and early 2010s, sneaky good,
Sneaky.
Yeah.
good.
sneaky good teams over there. So
All right.
it takes a lot for me to say. Go ahead,
Those
Brandon.
2007 Indians, Grady Sisselmore and Travis Hafner, man. Those were some fun.
Damn.
teams.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'll
now
never forget with when the Yankees played them in 06, Jabba and the Flies, spitting the Flies out.
yeah.
That was like the first baseball game
Remember
I
that.
ever really remember watching.
Yeah.
Was the Fly game. Or midges, whatever they were called, the Nats.
Yeah.
Just spitting them out on the mound.
Yep.
All right. Well, the 7th biggest collapse is the 2013 Texas Rangers. Now, Texas ended August 79 and 56, 2 games ahead of Oakland in the AL West, and 7 games clear of first run up for the wild card spot. The Rangers were just 1 game back for the AL's number 1 seed. Now, that's crazy enough. Now, while the A's finished strong 19-8, and Cleveland had the best record in the majors to storm back into the wild card mix with a 21-6 record, the Rangers laid one of the biggest eggs as they lost 15 out of their final 27 regular season games and set up a game 163 tiebreaker at home against the Tampa Bay Rays, which they lost.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that happening when I was younger. Yeah. I don't remember much of the details, but I remember just like how crazy
Yeah,
that
you remember
was.
that, yeah.
Yeah,
Dennis,
yeah,
any thoughts
yeah.
on any thoughts on that team?
I don't really have too many thoughts on that. Their window was kind of starting to close. And did CJ Wilson leave by that point? Because like he was
He was on
kind of
the
their
yeah.
guy.
I think that was his last season there. I
And
think.
Cliff
Pretty sure
Lee
he
had
was on the
already
Angels.
left.
I know who you guys are talking about. I'm pretty sure he was on the Angels at that point.
I knew he was on the
You know,
Angels
let me
in
look it up.
2014.
Let me look it up. I don't want to be wrong here.
If I'm correct, I'm pretty
Oh, no,
sure
he was on the Angels. Yeah,
he
was on
signed with
Angels,
the Angels
I'll
after the
look up.
2011
I
season.
think
He was
Yeah,
Cliff
you're
Lee
right.
was gone by that point too.
Yeah, so they were losing some
Yeah.
guys.
So like they listen, if we're talking about like who was the face of like that 2010s like Ranger squad, like Cliff Lee, CJ Wilson, Josh Hamilton, and then like still Michael Young and who else was
Beltray
over
was
there?
Beltray there?
I don't
I think
I
he's there
think Beltray might have been there.
for
Like he
2012.
might have
I think
just gotten there.
for one of the seasons. I thought
And
he was
then
there.
obviously Nelly Cruz and Nelson Feliz. And like they had like other guys, Mike Napoli, like they had good guys, but
Yeah, wow.
it is kind of different looking at that core without CJ Wilson, Cliff Lee, and Josh Hamilton was still there, but I think he started to kind of teeter off.
Beltray was there for both World Series appearances.
Really?
Yeah, 2011 and 2012. Yep.
Okay.
I
Okay.
thought he was on the Red Sox for longer.
He was on the Red Sox for one season.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. He had a monster year there too.
Yeah.
2010 Red Sox.
All right. All right. So now, the sixth biggest collapse is the 2010 San Diego Padres. Now, they were 2.5 games ahead of the Phillies for the wild card spot, as the Phillies caught fire with a 23-7 record, and the Giants caught up with the 19-10 record. And that's the year they won the World Series, the Giants. And the Padres, as a result, went 17 out of their 37 games, and they finished 2 games back in the division and 1 game behind Atlanta for the wild card spot.
Wow. That 2010 Padres team. I mean, like Miguel Tejada was on that team. Old Miguel
Jesus.
Tejada. Chase Headley, Yankee legend, was on that team. Adrian Gonzalez, and that was his last season there. And he had a monster year there. Yeah, wow. 2010 Padres. I didn't realize they were that close to a postseason berth. Wow. Who's I can't name anyone on that rotation. Matt Latos.
Heath Bell. Well, he was a reliever.
Yeah, Heath Bell. Yeah, awesome peak as a reliever. The rotation.
This team almost like won a division.
I know. I'm looking at. I'm like, really?
Seriously?
Great bullpen. I think the bullpen and somewhat that offense, I guess, carried.
Wow.
That bullpen really shut it down, though.
Wayne LeBlanc. Oh, you're right.
Tony Gwynn was on that team.
Matt Latos had a really good season. Oh my God. 2.92 ERA and 31 starts.
Tony Gwynn was on that team?
Tony Gwynn Jr.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
David Eckstein, World Series MVP.
Jerry Harrison. Ryan Ludwig. A lot of like journeyman utility guys on this.
Matt Stairs.
Oh my God. Matt Stairs, I remember.
I love Matt
Chris
Stairs.
Young.
Okay.
Matt Stairs is a grid guy.
What a weird team, man.
Yeah, I didn't realize how good
I've never even like looked at this.
Yeah,
I don't remember them, to be honest.
And the Padres are kind of my secondary team. I had to pick one. They're like, I love the Padres. I've been to Petco Park, so I didn't realize how good 2010 Padres
I've been
were.
to Petco Park too. Yeah, Petco Park is really nice.
My second team used to be the Cubs. Now, go Fish.
My second team, if I had a second team, it would be the Red Sox.
Oh,
Seriously?
That's the Red Sox.
I'm serious. I'm
Why?
sorry.
I gotta hear why. Because let me hear it. Because I know exactly what you're about to say. Let me hear it.
You know, I have a lot of reasons. I'm actually saying one reason. Well, I had a feeling I was. I admit Nicholas really popped up with the camera. He's like, really. You can see
Mets, Red Sox.
I got his full attention right here. I know, right? Yeah, it's typical Met guy and Jet guy too. That's crazy. Reason for it, I remember. All right, well, it does hit a little bit to here, a little bit, but I like the Red Sox. I mean, I went to, I like Fenway.
It's nice, yeah.
Fenway. I remember I went there with my Aunt Jenny. I remember she even said it to me too. She said it to me. She said, if I had a second team, Brandon, it would be the Red Sox. I remember her telling me that.
Ugh.
And then just, I don't know, like the history, going to the, obviously going to the ballpark. I've been thinking about it throughout the whole show. If I could go back to Fenway, I would. Hopefully I do that in the future. Whether it's the Yankees, Red Sox, or it would be Mets, Red Sox, but it already happened already, so I can't do it. So I don't know. That's kind of why it hits a little to here. And I mean, but look, I'm a Met fan for thick and thin. So you guys got to deal with that. I think would you guys rather deal with that than me being a Red Sox fan? Like me being a Met fan?
All day, but having both as your top two is still.
Yeah, you know what it is? I expected you to say it's because of the whole Yankees Red Sox thing. And I was going to rip you apart.
I haven't really thought of it like that, really. Yeah, I mean, it hits hard, but no, I would say I would go with the Red Sox if I could. Yankees,
I was locked in on the Cubs for like a good almost 10 years.
So yeah, I was going to ask you, Dennis, why the Cubs? I want to hear these stories.
Because they were like the lovable losers, and then once they finally won, I kind of just lost like all interest in them. I kind of just felt like their franchise should just stop. They should just lose on top and just fold.
Exactly. Just
like it was weird. It was a weird feeling.
Just abandon the team.
Yeah, like I remember watching that whole World Series, like rooting as a Cub fan. Yeah. And then like I was kind of like a vagabond for my second favorite team. I've always had a lot of San Francisco Giants in fantasy baseball, so I've always just rooted for them. The Twins, I've always kind of liked a little bit. I always liked their jerseys. Now that they've
Mm.
changed them,
I used to
kinda
love the
lost me.
Twins back in the day. The Mauer more nowadays. I used to
Yeah,
love the Twins, dude. Denard Span.
and the Mariners. I always really liked the Mariners. Ichiro
Mariners,
is my favorite player, so
Mm.
like I just always
Okay.
really liked the Mariners. And then like I don't know, I didn't have a second like a National League team, and then I was like, you know what? I want to be a Marlins guy. After I went to Miami, went to
Yeah,
Lone Depot Park, nice park. I got to go on the field before the WBC final game,
that's awesome.
and dude, like I'm a Marlins guy now. I'm locked in on it. I'm locked in.
Yeah, for me with the Padres, ever since I was a kid, I don't know why, just been my favorite non-Yankee. Just the most random player. I just love this guy, Brian Giles, which is always my favorite player. Dude, so underrated. Would hit 40 home runs, 300 batting average, 100 RBIs every season with the Pirates. Had
Okay.
some great years in San Diego. And now I love Juan Soto and Tatis. So Tony Gwynn, love the Padres, man.
All right, go Padres.
Hell yeah.
So now I guess we'll come back to that more, but let's now
Let's finish
discuss
this
the
list.
fifth biggest collapse.
Yeah.
This would be the 1995 California Angels, which went
Wow.
67 and 50 at the start of September, with no hopes, with now hopes of the AL's number one seed. But there were 7.5 games. There was no hopes of the AL's number one seed, but they were also 7.5 games ahead of both Texas and Seattle in the AL West. Oh, sorry, I gotta scratch my shoulder. The AL Angels lost 16 of their next 22 games, ended up with a tiebreaker with Seattle, and apparently they got torched in that game.
Yeah, I'm looking at their 162 game season. They had a great year just about until August, late September. They just had a horrible month. It's looking like they went on a huge losing streak here.
Looks like a 10 or 11 game losing
Yeah.
streak. Yeah.
And I'm looking at this offense, dude. A lot of my favorite players, man. Jim Edmonds, Tim Salmon, Chili Davis, young Garrett Anderson, such an underrated player. JT Snow, Yankee legend right there. Dude, what was he in on this rotation? Chuck Finley. Finley was solid.
Names.
Jim Abbott, the one-hand wonder. Wow. Lee Smith, Troy Percival.
Well,
he was young. Wow.
I could save you trying to figure out why they fell apart. They don't have a single starter with an ERA better than 4.15.
Yeah, I'm looking at the rotation. The rotation was not on it that year.
Chuck
Some good
Finley
names, but
kind of teetering off.
yeah,
They had two guys with almost a 6 ERA.
Yep.
Sean Bosky and Brian Anderson. Is that young Brian Anderson? Didn't he have like a career?
Wasn't he a Dodger?
Okay. He was a Royal and a Diamondback.
Diamondback.
1-1. Nice rotation. My God, could you imagine Troy Percival setting up for Lee Smith?
Right.
Yikes.
That bullpen's nasty.
It's a tough opponent.
Okay.
Mitch Williams. Old Mitch Williams, too, at that point. Well, he was 30, but his arm was like rubber at that point.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh my God, what a team.
Yeah, what a
Wow.
team.
Interesting.
So now, the fourth biggest collapse is the 2009 Detroit Tigers. Now, the Tigers entered Labor Day on its biggest lead of the entire season. They were 75 and 61. They were 7 games ahead of Minnesota in the AL Central.
Mm-hmm.
Now, despite losing 12 of their next 20 games, Detroit still entered October with a 3-game lead, and they could have clinched the division with a win over Minnesota on October 1st. However, the Tigers ended up losing that game and 2 out of the 3 against Chicago to force a Game 163 tiebreaker that Minnesota won in a 12-inning affair.
Wow.
Any thoughts on that, Dennis?
This is kind of like their like how the Yankees had the Ken Griffey Jr. double in 95. This was kind of their double for the Tigers. Or no, I'm sorry, that was Edgar Martinez did it.
Yeah.
Like this made them realize, like, you know what? We're sick of losing. We're just sick of losing. And then that's kind of when they went on that run with the they had Miguel Cabrera. They got Scherzer, Verlander. Like they started kind of loading up. Granderson was a young player for them. They had Edwin Jackson that year, Brandon Inge, Rick Porcello, Placido Polanco. Like they started having guys, but then they realized like they still weren't good enough.
Yeah.
And then they really kind of ramped up and started kind
Yeah.
of doing more free agency.
Exactly. Like, I remember the Miguel Cabrera early era for Miguel Cabrera in Detroit. I remember it being very like, it's like how people dog Mike Trout or whatever. Like, oh, like, this team is like finishing well below standards or 07, 08, whatever. The Tigers, same with 09. I remember just Miguel Cabrera there's being like, oh, they're a bust or whatever. Like, it's just not working out or whatever. And then that's when they start to get Victor Martinez and then Scherzer, 2011. Like, that's when the Tigers really took off by storm. 2012 World Series appearance. Started getting all these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I remember the early Detroit stages with Miguel Cabrera. I remember everyone saying like, "Oh, they're a bust" and stuff. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember them in the early stages of Miguel Cabrera. He's been on that team for a long time.
So yeah, he's been on the team since he was 26 years old, or even younger, maybe 25.
He won the World
Yeah,
Series with Marlins.
and he's 40 years old now, 41.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So now the third number third is the 2011 Atlanta Braves.
Yep.
And then number 2 was the Red Sox, which I know Dennis alluded to earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know if you described more with the Braves. They, obviously they were positioned for the NL East crown. They were 86 and 46, but Atlanta had the second best record in the NL. As they were 80 and 55, and they seemed to have the wild card spot on lock. The Braves entered September with an 8.5 game lead over the Cardinals. Ironically, went on to win the World Series that year. But now Atlanta would go on into September. They would go on to post the worst September record in the NL, as they went 9 and 18. And the Cardinals, they ended up going 18 and 8. Snagging the final wild card spot and eventually taking the World Series. So now, number 1 collapse would be the 2007 New York Mets.
Wow.
With 18 days remaining in the regular season, the 83 and 62 New York Mets had both a 1-game lead over Arizona. They even had, for the number 1 seed in the NL. And they had a 7-game lead over the Phillies for the NL East crown. Despite an extremely favorable schedule, the Mets choked it away, losing 12 out of their final 17 games, allowing the Phillies to win the first of 5 consecutive NL East titles.
Wow.
Yeah, any thoughts on the rest of the list? Any shockers that you thought should have made it?
None that I can really think of. I kind of feel like the 2016 Royals could have been on there, but then I realized like they didn't really have a collapse. It was like July or June or something like that. They lost like 11 straight
Yeah.
or something like that. Like it wasn't late enough, and they were kind of just like, I don't really know why that Royals core failed.
It was very short lived.
But yeah, they really only had those 2 years, 14, 15.
All right.
But like I can't really think of another team that was like locked in, ready to go, and then just fell off. I guess not counting teams that made the playoffs. I don't want to keep beating up on Buddy, but the Mets of last year, like I feel like the Mets, they're always just loosey with the football. They just can never kick it.
Yeah.
And I can't really think of too many. I've never really thought about it until Brandon had mentioned it when we're
Same here, honestly.
Interesting topic.
And who knows? I think these Texas Rangers this season is probably going to join that list very soon if things don't turn around.
I kind of want to put the caveat in with the Rangers for they had a lot of injuries. I'm not counting the DeGrom injury with that. If you have an injury-prone player and he gets hurt, that's your responsibility, your problem. But Josh Jung getting hurt, Jonah Heim had some time off, like stuff like that. And let's be honest, they are in a pretty tough division.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Astros and Rangers. And also, let's be honest, if all teams were healthy going into the season, nobody would have picked against the Astros. You had months without Yordan, months without Altuve. Lance McCullers, their ace, hasn't even set foot on the mound this season and won't. So Michael Brantley was out. He was supposed to be out until mid-April. He just came back like 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure people are like, well, Rangers could win the World Series. Look what they've done in the AL West. It's like, you know what? kind of not.
Yeah.
So I'll give them a pass.
All right. So I guess just any other thoughts on the baseball world?
Oh, of course. Of course. I mean, first and foremost, we got to talk about unfortunate news out of the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Julio Urias. What's going on?
Oh,
I mean, he gets caught
Yeah.
smacking around his girlfriend or wife again in public again. So Lord knows how many times it's happened behind
between.
closed doors, which is unfortunate. And he was arrested for felony domestic assault, his second domestic violence offense, and was suspended in 2019 for 20 games following a domestic violence case that Los Angeles County dropped with the stipulation that he went to counseling for 52 weeks. No player has been suspended twice for domestic violence since its policy was put in place in 2015. So even if charges are dropped, if they're brought up, you're suspended. I think is the way MLB does it. They have like their own investigation. And even if it's settled or whatnot, you still have to pay a penalty for it. Going into his walk year, the Dodgers, the baseball side of things, the Dodgers need him. They've been struggling with starting pitching for much of the season. Kershaw ain't getting any younger. You need some of these guys to step up.
Yeah.
And he throws it all away, being an idiot again. So it's unbelievable. As for the real life aspect of it, how hard is it to just not smack around a woman? I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't understand how this is constantly a problem.
It's never okay to hit a woman. Like
not just in sports or pop culture, but just in general. It's really not hard to not hit somebody. I don't get it.
Yeah. It's saying I don't know what these people don't understand, man.
It's a different breed of people. It's something we can't understand. It's crazy. It's absolutely disgusting.
I don't know why people got to resort to violence. Maybe he had I'm no psychiatrist, but or a therapist, but maybe he had something going on. And
it was at a soccer game. It was at a Messi game at against the LA Galaxy. It was after that. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, in any situation, no matter what happened to you in the past or today, it's never acceptable to hit a family member or hit anybody. So, especially your girlfriend, a woman, and especially a woman. So these people need to understand that. Like, come on. It shouldn't take for us to say that on this platform, to say that. You know?
Yeah, not at all.
Like, this isn't hard.
It's not.
But
it's ridiculous.
Anyway,
it's disgusting. It's ridiculous. We'll never understand it. It's crazy. It's insane.
But anyways, any other thoughts in the baseball world?
I want to shed some love because I feel like this is a pretty crazy record with the likes of having Hank Aaron on your franchise, Chipper Jones, and Andrew Jones. Matt Olson's about to break the Braves single season home run record. He's at 51. He's on pace for 55 plus home runs this season. Historic franchise, awesome player. That's a crazy record to me. The fact that I knew about Andrew Jones' insane 05 season, but I actually never thought about, wow, that's the single season Braves home run record, 51. So
yeah.
Matt Olson's having a monster year. Insane.
That's not the only crazy record that could be taken down. Freddie Freeman has the opportunity to be the first player in 90 years to have 60 doubles in a season.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's kind of what I wanted.
That's insane.
This is why I wanted this Matt Olson stat to kind of seg into is that, dude, I remember, I think it was 2019 or 2018. I think it was 2018. Eduardo Escobar was like having an insane doubles year. Insane. Or I think it was him and Castellanos. Castellanos was flirting with 60 doubles as well. I was rooting so hard for 60 doubles. I was like, dude, that's such an underrated stat. Like, everyone talks about like 60 home runs or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Double stats, crazy. Who's the last person hit 60 doubles?
I think it's Charlie Gehringer, but I'm going to look it up right now.
Charlie Gehringer or Tristan Speaker or someone like that. But
to have 60 doubles in an MLB.
I think Tristan Speaker had 67 doubles. I think that's the record.
Charlie Gehringer had 60 in 1936.
That's crazy. What's the most doubles in a season? It's Tristan Speaker, right?
I think you're right. Most doubles in a season.
Going 67.
Yeah. Earl Webb. had
Oh, Earl
67.
Webb. It was Earl Webb, 67. Gotcha. That's crazy. I knew the numbers. Like I know it's 67 doubles. That's the
Yeah.
record.
And dude, and we're not even done with the Atlanta connection here. Ronald Acuna
Dude.
could go 40 and 60, right?
40 and 70 is the possible.
You're right. 37 homers and 65 stolen bases.
Yeah. So I think 40, 60 is a lot. I know 47, 40, 70 is probably a lock, actually, if you think about it. Insane, dude. That's an insane year. He still might vote for MVP. I know Betts.
His cousin is Alcides Escobar?
Yeah, I think so, actually.
What? I don't know.
What?
I thought there's always some like random cousin connection in MLB.
He's got a couple that have played in the bigs. He's got 5 relatives that played.
Crazy.
Interesting.
All right.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, it's Braves. Braves are having a fun year, man. Having a fun
unfortunately,
year.
It should be the Mets.
Should have been.
Should have, could have, would have.
Can't wait to see them choke in October like they do every year.
Yeah, honestly, that's so true.
Let me ask. We all know who the division leaders are. Who do you guys think is going to be the wild card teams? Real quick, we don't got to get
final wild card teams.
Final playoff teams. What do we got?
All right. I'm going with I'll start us off with the American League. I know a couple of weeks ago, Dennis, we both said Tampa Bay was gonna fall out, but I don't think it's happening anymore. Sadly.
I hate being wrong. Every year. I'm wrong about
they always prove us wrong. I got Tampa Bay.
Texas is in second right now.
Yeah,
in
Texas
the wild card.
in second. You see, the gap is just so big for Boston, New York. I don't think either of them are going to make it.
They're both out. They're 7 out.
Yeah. So Toronto's on a 2-game losing streak. So I'm going with the Rays. I think the Rangers hold on. I think the Rangers are going to hold on. Rays, Rangers. Give me the Mariners. I think the Mariners are just they're hot right now. They're 3-7 the last 10, but I feel like the momentum's just there. I feel like they're giving Toronto just too much to worry about. So I'll go with Seattle. And then for the National League. National League's fun. National League is fun.
I didn't realize the Blue Jays are in the series with the Rangers right now. So the 2 games that the Rangers took, the Rangers got back into the playoff race by beating the Blue Jays.
Crazy.
They still got 2 more.
Yep. So
must watch TV.
That's a little crazy race to watch right there. The National League wild card's just nuts. Definitely give me the Phillies. Phillies are all right there.
They've been locked for like 2 months.
Yeah, Phillies are locked in. I'm going with the Cubbies. I think the Cubbies are going to stay in. Justin Steele is just out of this world.
Bellinger.
San Diego's done.
Seiya Suzuki's been on a heater.
Yeah, Seiya Suzuki's been nice. I don't think San Fran makes it anymore.
I'm locked in. I think the Fish are getting in. I think they're the 3rd team. I think it's Phillies, Cubs, Fish.
Phillies and Cubs definitely. So we got the D-backs, the Reds, and the Marlins. That's so tough. It's like choosing your starter Pokemon.
Big Squirtle. Big Squirtle guy.
I always rather Pikachu.
God, Miami. Miami's a fun team, man. They're fun. They're all fun teams. I'm gonna go with the Reds. I'm going with the Reds with the Ellie De La Cruz, but I'd probably go Reds, Miami, then Arizona. That's how I rank them. But we'll say I'm going with the Reds. I feel like they got a lot of youth movement going on there. I'm liking it.
Okay.
All right, Brandon, your thoughts?
I like what you guys said. I think the Phillies definitely got a good shot. Definitely. Sucks the Angels. After what's going on with them, I feel bad. They've tried to make it on a run. Those are really the 2 teams I think have I know are going to make a big impact in terms of the playoffs. But I like what you guys just said.
What about you, Dennis? Final prediction. I know you said Marlins, Cubs, Phillies, and what was your AL again?
Basically what you said, but I think the Rangers are going to fall out and the Blue Jays are going to fall in. I think they're going to beat them in these last 2.
Interesting.
And I think the Cubs are going to usurp the Brewers for the NL Central crown.
Wow.
I've been saying it all year, and you know what it is? I'm just sick of seeing the Brewers. And
Yeah.
honestly, I'm going to get rude here for a second. I'm sick and tired of these teams winning a division just to get left out of the playoffs.
Yeah, because you know
I'm
they're
just
not
over
gonna
it.
make the
Give
run.
somebody else a chance. Either be good or not be good.
Yeah,
The Cubs
exactly.
are 4 games back.
Either be good or not be
Come
good.
on. Come
I
on,
can see it.
guys. Come on.
Justin Steele's the truth,
Either
man.
be good or not be good.
Bellinger's
It's
just
simple.
having one of those great comeback years. You'll have to see it.
Go
So,
Cubs, go. Go Cubs, go.
Loving for the Cubbies.
Hey, Chicago, what do you say? Go Cubs, go.
All right. I guess that wraps up the show.
Yeah.
All right. Be sure to check out our revamped website at www.easternobserver.com. The latest news in the world of baseball and so much more. We thank you for joining us in another edition of Battin and Chattin. My co-host Niklaus Feil and Denis Tuohy, the entire Blackjack Media Group team. I'm Brandon Natale saying so long, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good day, and thank you for listening to watching episode 16 of Battin and Chattin.